why it sucks to be born as a serial killer. Explained. Let's dive right in it.
This is you. You've just killed someone. Again. This is what, the 5th time this week? Not for money, not for revenge. You do it because something in you decided that other people don't get to live unless you say so. The room is dark. The carpet's stained with so many people's blood that you lost count. You have human heads in the fridge and hands in the freezer, and in the distance you can see police lights coming for you. You're a serial killer. And on paper, that sounds kinda cool, like you're the apex predator. But let me tell you one thing. Being a serial killer is anything but cool. Not all serial killers are the same. They come in all different shapes and sizes. The only common thing they share is that they are all psychopaths.
Yeah, for serial killers, he's probably right. Psychopathy shows up a lot there. But for normal murders, way messier. Crimes of passion, desperation, even accidents don't fit that neat psychopath box. Fun fact, the FBI once categorized killers into organized versus disorganized, like they were sorting Pokemon. Spoiler, reality is blurrier and many cases break their own mold.
Ted Bundy was one of the most famous serial killers from the years 1974 to 1978. He has 30 plus confirmed kills, but it's rumored that that number could be as high as 100 plus. His weapons of choice were a crowbar, and he used blunt trauma, or strangulation usually, to end his victims' lives. See, unlike you, Ted Bundy was a so-called good-looking guy, so his main victims were women, and he didn't have any problems getting them. His main move was pretending to be injured. Maybe his arm was in a sling or something, then asking women for help. When they leaned in, boom! Crowbar to the head. Then he dragged them into his car. Some victims were assaulted, others decapitated, and he even kept some heads as souvenirs. Charming, right?
Bundy basically turned fake sympathy into a hunting strategy. The injured arm trick was his signature scam. It's wild how charisma plus a sling beat brute force every time. And yeah, the good-looking guy angle, that's what made him scarier. People wanted to trust him. Fun fact, when he was finally caught, Bundy actually represented himself in court, turning his trial into this bizarre mix of true crime and theater. Talk about main character syndrome gone nuclear.
How the only thing scarier than a charming lady killer is a clown serial killer. Yeah, you heard that right. John Wayne Gacy was a serial killer from 1972 to 1978. He had a confirmed 33 kills, and his weapons of choice were rope, chloroform, and handcuffs. But it gets worse, because Gacy lured teenage boys to his house with job offers or magic tricks. Once they were in, he'd handcuff them as part of his act, then choke them using a rope and a stick, tightening it slowly until they stopped breathing. His basement, full of corpses, a literal crawl space of horrors. But I'm not sure what those kids were expecting. I mean, look at him. He's a scary-ass clown.
Yeah, clowns are already nightmare fuel, but Gacy made it literal. The guy did birthday parties as Pogo the Clown by day and turned his basement into a horror movie set by night. The crawl space detail, straight out of Stranger Things minus the upside down. Fun fact, Gacy actually met First Lady Rosalind Carter while in full clown phase, shaking hands in photos while hiding bodies at home. Imagine that White House scrapbook entry.
And then we saved the best for last. Louis Garavito confessed to killing over 190 people, but police think this number could be as high as 300. He lured victims with gifts or promises of work, then tortured and murdered them, often using knives and blunt force. Bodies were found with hands and feet bound, showing signs of suffering. Oh, and by the way, he was only sentenced to 22 years. So yeah, that is actually insane to me. Growing up, you probably didn't start out evil. In fact, you were just a weird kid with no friends. You probably wet the bed a little too often. Maybe you enjoyed pulling the legs off insects and killing your pet cat. Maybe your parents didn't hug you. Or worse, they did, and it still didn't help. By the time you hit school, you're already the weird kid. The one who stares a little too long. The one who flinches at hugs and laughs at the wrong things. Other kids start calling you names, shoving you into lockers, giving you the old classic toilet bowl swirly, and telling you to stop being a freak. And to be fair, they're not wrong. By middle school, you're eating lunch alone, reading true crime for fun, and trying to figure out if it's normal to wonder what the inside of someone looks like. I just wouldn't say that out loud. So you keep pretending, nodding, smiling, blending in. Meanwhile, your classmates are planning dances and first kisses. You're studying pressure points and how deep a knife has to go to hit something important. By the time you hit your later teens, you're tired of beating up on insects and killing random rabbits or raccoons you find in your backyard.
I know, it's just entertainment. But let's break it down. That last bit, your weirdo childhood equals inevitable murderer, is cheap psychology. Bedwetting and bug torture are red flags, sure, but they don't script fate. Social neglect, untreated trauma, and access to violence do. Also, 22 years for 190 plus confessed kills? That's a system problem, not a plot twist. Sounds like a true crime producer's nightmare. Think about this. Prevention beats post hoc labels, always.
So you've got the urge for the real thing. Cool. Creepy. You've been thinking about it for a while, maybe years. And now you're not just fantasizing, you're planning. But unlike movies, you don't just grab a knife and go full slasher. Nah, first you study, like a twisted valedictorian of violence. You start reading a lot. True crime books, articles, forums, FBI profiles, podcasts, maybe even documentaries where you're taking notes like it's a TED Talk for psychopaths. Then you have to pick your weapon of choice. But you're not just choosing a weapon, you're defining your signature. So let's not get this wrong. It's almost like shopping for serial killers. Knives are personal. Guns are risky. Poison is subtle. Strangling? Slow, but quiet. You try to balance control, silence, cleanup, and your level of emotional detachment. You might even practice on animals, dolls, mannequins, or, if you're particularly twisted, yourself. Oh, and you Google way too much about bleach. That's a red flag right there, so let's make sure you clear that search history, pal. I don't even want to know what's on there, you weirdo. Now, the next step you choose is a victim. This is where it gets dark. You don't pick just anyone, you focus. Lonely people, bullies, your high school crush that never gave you a chance because she was the popular kid and you were a weirdo with no friends. Oh, and people who won't be missed. At least not right away. You scope out habits, routines, blind spots. Victims are chosen for a reason. Access, vulnerability, and how easy they are to erase. You follow people. For days, weeks, you learn their routes. You watch their apartments. You memorize the sounds of their front door. You time how long they take in the shower and on the toilet. It's not impulse, it's practice.
I've already said this, but he's probably right for serial killers. Methodical, signature-driven, rehearsed like a grotesque craft fair. But normal murders? Way different. Fights, desperate choices, domestic blow-ups, drunk mistakes, messy, human, almost boring. Fun twist, most real-world homicides aren't stranger danger thrillers, they're committed by someone the victim knew, which is way less cinematic and way more preventable.
The actual kill might take 30 seconds. The prep takes months. You don't just think about how to kill, you think about how to get away with it, how to dispose of the body, where to park, how far your DNA can travel, whether to wear gloves, condoms, boot covers, even fake mustaches. Spoiler, the last one never works. You know the difference between clean and sterile. You plan for blood spatter. You learn what luminol is. You're Googling how long bodies take to decompose, like it's a school project. Seriously, please remember to delete that search history. Finally, you are finally ready for your first real kill. The plan goes into motion. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But one thing is almost always true. After the first one, it gets harder to stop. Because for a serial killer, the kill isn't the end. It's just the start of a new obsession. The next one. You walk up behind your first kill in a dark alley and pull out your signature weapon, a plunger. Not sure I would have chosen that, but that is totally up to you. The only downside is it takes a lot of wax with a plunger to kill someone, so I'll let you get to work. Finally, after what seems like forever, your first kill is on the board. Let's see who your victim was. Oh, it's little Jimmy, who used to give you those toilet bowl swirlies as a kid. Good choice. Now that your first kill is out of the way, this only opens up a void that you try to fill that you never will.
Here's the real reason the scene lands: the moment the first kill flips from one-time horror to an ongoing obsession. Smart, because true crime fandom knows Perret beats impulse, but the script leans into absurdity with a signature weapon, a plunger, which is darkly comic. The checklist stuff, like delete that search history, satirizes internet age paranoia. Think about how anonymity tools and forensics changed the cat and mouse.
It seems like every day you have the urges to kill someone else. Every time you kill someone, you just want to do it again. As the years go by, the killings become more frequent. After years of experience, you're basically killing someone every week. I mean, you have to be upwards of 200 people killed now? Wow, that's actually kind of impressive. You never had the opportunity to marry someone or have kids. I mean, even if you took some time off from the stalking and killing, what kind of girl is marrying you? Even if you managed to get one to come home with you, could you imagine how bad your apartment smells with your trophy of body parts? Yeah, let's stick with the killing instead of that family you were thinking of. You've gone through what seems like a million plungers because they keep breaking and you're constantly paranoid of the police. The problem is, killing doesn't actually fix anything. It doesn't fill the void. It doesn't give you peace. It just feeds the compulsion. And with every new body, the risk gets bigger. You start making mistakes. You revisit the scene. You leave behind evidence. You start believing your own myth, that you're too clever to be caught, too invisible to be tracked. You save trophies, like a foot or an eyeball. You write journals. You get sloppy. And all it takes is one survivor, one nosy cop, one DNA test you didn't plan for, and then you're arrested. They find the evidence, the trophies and the bodies. They find out exactly who you are. And the world is horrified. Some people send you letters. Others send death threats. Some weirdos want to try to marry you, but all of them agree on one thing. You're not getting out of this. If you're sentenced to death, you spend the next 10 to 20 years rotting in a box for 23 hours of your day. No group meals, no yard football, just you, your thoughts, and a toilet with no seat. Just you looking forward to the electric chair, a syringe, or the firing squad. So, nice. If you're lucky enough to only be sentenced to life, you get to stare at a wall for the rest of your life. So, good luck.
Killing doesn't fill the void, it just turns you into a paranoid hoarder with the world's worst smelling apartment. Like you thought IKEA assembly was stressful, try hiding 200 bodies and remembering where you put the eyeballs. The ending is always the same, sloppy mistakes, a nosy cop, and your Netflix doc title basically writes itself. Turns out the apex predator phase ends with bad prison food and a roommate named Spider. Jinx did an amazing job with this video, links in the description. Next up, something weird, unexpected, and definitely not what you think it is. Stay nerdy.